ओम ज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाखया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। नमो ओं विष्णुपदाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिन् इति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौरभक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। So Lord Kapila is explaining about the danger of unrestricted mixing of opposite sex, male and female. That is why, according to the Vedic literature, this mixing is allowed only in one of the ashramas. In all other three ashramas, this unrestricted mixing is not allowed. In Brahmacharya, it is advised one should not, in his mind, in his words, and in his action, he should give up any kind of desire, lusty desires. Then only in Grahasth Ashrama, for the sake of procreating children, one is allowed to mix with husband and wife. Then later on, once the person has finished his responsibilities, both husband and wife retire from this household life and they give the responsibility to their children. And even in vanaprastha life, there is no mixing between husband and wife. And then finally, one takes sannyas. So in sannyas ashram, there is no such possibility. Vanaprastha is a practice after which one can very easily give up and take sannyas. So that is how the Vedic culture was in the beginning. Here, an example is cited by Lord Kapila of Brahma being captivated by his own daughter's charm. From the body of Brahma, he created his daughter, who was named as Vak. But after seeing the beauty and charm of his daughter, Lord Brahma's mind was attracted, and without considering any kind of restriction, Brahma ran behind his daughter, even though the daughter had no such attraction. So this is an incident Prabhupada says this example of extraordinary immorality. It is not normal immorality. It is extraordinary immorality. On the part of Brahma is to set an example by his own behavior that even such great personalities, such great demigods like Brahma, even they can be bewildered by Maya. Prabhupada is giving even the example of Lord Shiva. When the Supreme Lord took the form of a woman as Mohini Murti, even Lord Shiva was attracted to the beauty of Mohini Murti. So, these are examples set for all of us to show the power of Lord's material creation. Maya. Prabhupada explains, it has to be understood very clearly. First of all, this is an example which they have set for all of us so that we can understand the Vedic instructions, that what is given in the Vedic literature is not untruth. When the Vedas are saying, do not sit even with your mother, your sister or your daughter in a lonely place, it is not something untruth. It is important. Vidvam sapi karshati. In the Srimad Bhagavatam it states, Balwan indriya gramam vidvam sapi karshati. The senses are so strong, Balwan, even if one is very learned, even his senses can become infatuated in that condition. So, one should not take that risk. It is very important. What are we? Are we so learned? Isn't it? Imagine. So, to show these examples practically, that these are not some fantasies. What is given in the Vedic literature is not simply, okay, who will be attracted to his own daughter, we may think. Correct? Who may be attracted to his own mother, to own sister. Vedic literatures are saying no. Vidvam sapi karshati. Even one may be very learned and the example is given. You can see the example of Brahma is given. So Prabhupada makes it first of all very clear that this incident did not occur in this kalpa. This Brahma's incident, being attracted to his own daughter, it occurred in some other kalpa when he was still not a pure devotee of the Lord. Once one has received spiritual knowledge and spiritual understanding, there is no question that actually one can be bewildered. After giving the 4 shlokas of Bhagavatam, which is called as Chatur Shloki Bhagavatam, to Brahma, the Lord also blessed him by saying that you will never fall into illusion after hearing this. Just like after hearing Bhagavad Gita, even Arjuna says, Nashtamoham, my whole illusion is over now, and have regained my memory. So, one should not misunderstand that Brahma, being such a great devotee of the Lord, how was it possible for him to have such an immoral behavior? So this should be understood just like Arjuna was put into illusion by the arrangement of the Lord, so that Bhagavad Gita can be spoken and so that we can take advantage of the words of Lord Krishna. Similar to that, it is by the arrangement of Lord that Brahma became captivated by his own daughter in some other kalpa. To set an example for all of us that what is said in the Vedic literature is true. That in secluded place, even a Vidwan, even if somebody is very learned, he should not sit solitarily with a woman, even though woman may be his own mother, own sister or own daughter. So this is very important. So Prabhupada writes in the purport, this extraordinary immorality on the part of Brahma was heard to have occurred in some particular kalpa. It could not have happened in the kalpa in which Brahma heard directly from the Lord 4 essential verses of Srimad Bhagavatam, because Lord blessed Brahma after giving him lessons on the Bhagavatam that he would never be bewildered in any kalpa whatsoever. So after Brahma heard Bhagavatam from the Lord in the form of Chaturshloki Bhagavatam, the Lord blessed him that in any kalpa you will never get bewildered. Because that is the nature of spiritual knowledge. Having obtained self-realization, one is not bewildered. Again, Krishna says that. Yad gatva na nivartante. After going back to Godhead, one does not return to this temporary material world. Mam chayo avya vicharena bhakti yogena sevate saguna sammaitetan brahma bhuyaya kalpate. One immediately crosses over this influence of 3 modes of material nature. So it is the influence of 3 modes of material nature by which one becomes lusty. So when one has overcome the 3 modes of material nature by surrendering to the Supreme Lord, there is no question that one will be bewildered. So this is important, Prabhupada is saying. He might have fallen a victim to such sensuality, but after hearing Bhagavatam directly from the Lord, there was no possibility of such failures. So this is very important. There is a very interesting incident about these lusty desires which are never satiated. If somebody is thinking, let me try to satisfy my desires more and more and more and more, and then one day will come when it will be possible that I will be controlled. Bhagavatam says, no, there is no such possibility. For the time being, the example is given. It is just like Lust is compared to the fire, and trying to engage in lustful activities is compared to pouring ghee on the fire. When we pour ghee on the fire, for some time, it may look like that the blazing fire has come down. Sometime you would have seen when we sit for yagna, there is a fire, and then let us say one bowl of ghee is poured on that. For a few seconds, it looks like the fire comes down. But actually, this ghee is the substance to fuel the fire more and more. Engaging in sensual activity is a fuel which will degrade us more and more towards sensuality. It is not that the more you engage, the more you will be satisfied thinking, "Ho gaya, now I am satisfied, now I will be able to give it up." There is no possibility like that. That is a different method altogether, which Prabhupada is mentioning. The method is, we have to become attracted to Madana Mohana, the Supreme Lord, who is the attractor even of Cupid. Now we are Madana Dahana. We are burning in the fire of lust. Only when we surrender to Madana Mohana, then it will be possible that our lusty desires will be able to control. So there is a very nice incident which is explained in Bhagavatam to make us understand these lusty desires, you cannot give it up, even in the old age. Even in the old age. One should not think, now I am very elderly, I am a retired person, so it does not matter. That is for young people may become attracted. I am an elderly man, I will not be. Vedic literatures are saying, no, it is not like that. So, the example is given of Yayati, King Yayati. King Yayati had two wives, Sharmishtha and Devayani. And Devayani was the daughter of Shukracharya. Shukracharya had warned Yayati, you should not have child with your other wife. Otherwise, I will curse you. So he had warned him. So, King Yayati had children from Devayani, but then Sarmishtha, she became very depressed. She approached the husband and said that, what is this? I am also feeling deprived in my household life. Please also bless me with children. So King Yayati did remember the warning of father-in-law, Shukracharya. But then he felt that actually this is according to religious principle. A king, a Kshatriya cannot refuse his wife when she has approached him if she wants to have a legal child. So then he consented, and then when Sharmishtha became pregnant, and when Devayani came to understand this, when she heard this, immediately she left the house, she left the kingdom, went back to her father's house and reported the whole incident. And King Yayati also went behind. He was very attached to Devayani. He went behind her to father-in-law's house to bring her back. He tried to pacify her with many kind words, but she would not listen. And the father was very angry. So he said, you will lose your youth. I curse you. You lose your youth. You will become an old man now itself. And you will become invalid. So then he requested, he said, what is this? My desires are not yet satisfied. And if I become old with unsatisfied desire, what will I do? What will your daughter do? So then Shukracharya, he was thinking that yes, that is correct. It is an injustice I will be doing to my daughter. Still she has not lived her household life. And if she finds that the husband has become old, what she is going to do? Her life will be ruined. So he said, okay, I give you a blessing that you can exchange your old age for youth with any of your sons. With any of your sons, you can exchange your old age. So he went about to his different sons and all of them refused. First he went to his eldest son, Yadu. Yadu is King Yadu, famous king, in whose dynasty Lord Krishna comes. So Yadu knew this very well, that in my dynasty Lord Krishna is going to appear. If I become old now, where is the question of begetting a progeny, and then where Lord Krishna will appear? So he was duty bound. And he also considered, he told his father, my dear father, if I become old now, it's a very important thing which he said. He said, if I become old at this time, when I am filled with youth, and I have all kinds of desire, and immediately you make me an old man, I will be having all these lusty desire as an old man. Will it be good? So on religious principles, he refused his father. He was not disobedient, but on two important considerations, he refused. So Prabhupada explains this very nicely. The ultimate principle of religion is to engage oneself in devotional service of the Lord. That is the ultimate religious principle. Maharaj Yadu was very eager to engage himself in the Lord's service, but there was an impediment. During youth, this is interesting, this is important. During youth, material desire to enjoy the material senses is certainly present. Unless one fully satisfies these lusty desires in youth, there is a chance of one's being disturbed in rendering service to the Lord. We have actually seen many sannyasis who accept sannyasa prematurely, not having satisfied their material desire, fall down because they are disturbed. Therefore, general process is to go through grahastha life and vanaprastha life and finally come to sannyas. That is a general principle. Of course, if somebody is very strong in following Krishna conscious principle, he does not have to follow this general process. If somebody is strong enough not to be disturbed because of the lusty desires and is able to have control over that, then he does not have to follow this general process. Otherwise, Prabhupada is saying. So, therefore, the general process is to go through grahastha life and vanaprastha life and finally come to sannyas and devote oneself completely to the service of the Lord. Maharaj Yadu was ready to accept his father's order and exchange youth for old age because he was confident that the youth taken by his father would be returned. But because this exchange would delay his complete engagement in devotional service, he did not want to accept his father's old age, for he was eager to achieve freedom from disturbances. So he wanted to go gradual in his life, that no, now in this youth age, so many desires are there, I will enter into grahastha life, and slowly I will get rid of these desires. That was his idea. So he said like this. So later on, finally, his youngest son Puru accepted this proposal. He was very obedient to his father. Rather, he considered himself second class. Puru says that actually first class means to understand superiors' order even without their telling. So I am very shameful, my dear father, you have to tell me, and then I have accepted your order. I should have accepted even before that. And third class is even after knowing, understanding, one does not carry out. So that is third class. So he accepted his father's this thing, and he took the old age of his father. And it is said King Yayati enjoyed that youth for 1,000 years. 1,000 years. And even after enjoying for 1,000 years, he was still dissatisfied. He was still not satisfied. Then finally, in frustration, he approached his wife and he expressed his degraded condition by telling a story of a he-goat and she-goat. That how, like this, when the he-goat became lusty after another she-goat, that Brahmana to whom that she-goat belonged cursed that he-goat, and he became completely infertile. His testicles were cut off. And then once again, by the power of that Brahmana, that he-goat regained his testicle, and still he was dissatisfied even after enjoying. So you can imagine, this is the story. So very nicely he is explaining to his wife his condition. So very interesting, some few verses are there. I'll just read the translations of that. So this is King Yayati in frustration after enjoying for thousands of years, when he is still dissatisfied, and he enjoyed that life in full vigor for thousands of years. That was the blessing he got, that in his youth his power will not decrease. So he is saying, a person who is lusty cannot satisfy his mind even if he has enough of everything in this world. If there is lust in his heart, even if he gets everything enough of wealth, enough of comforts of life, enough of opportunity to satisfy his desires, there is no possibility that can satisfy his lusty desires. So he is saying, even if he has enough of everything in the world, including rice, barley, other food grain, gold, animal, woman, nothing can satisfy him. See, everything he is saying. Enough of food to gratify his palate, enough of woman to gratify his genitals, everything, wealth, comforts of life. If a person has lust in his heart, all these things actually cannot satisfy. The next he says, as supplying butter to a fire does not diminish the fire, instead increases it more and more, the endeavor to stop lusty desire by continual enjoyment can never be successful. This is a myth. If somebody is thinking, let me continuously satisfy my desire and then one day I will be able to come to the point where I can satisfy myself. No. It is just like putting ghee in the fire. This is the example given in the Vedic literature. Then he says that actually this is possible to be controlled only when one has come out of three modes of material nature. When one has become equal in his dealing, when one has become non-envious, when all these dirty things have gone out from the heart. So he's saying, when a man is non-envious, does not desire ill fortune for anyone, he is equipoised For such a person, all directions appears happy. Then he does not get attracted to this kind of sensual pleasures. Is completely satisfied. And then he's saying, this is also very interesting. For those who are too attached to material enjoyment, sense gratification is very difficult to give up. See, for those who are too attached to material enjoyment, sense gratification is very difficult to give up. Even when one is invalid because of old age, one cannot give up such desire for sense gratification. It is other thing that he cannot physically engage in such activities. May not be able to engage physically, but such desires do not go away. If a person has been too attached to sense enjoyment, even in old age, such desires will continue. Therefore, one who actually desires happiness must give up such unsatisfied desires, which are the cause of all tribulations. You have to voluntarily give it up. No other process. You have to take up the determination to voluntarily give it up. It is said in Bhagavatam, Prahlad Maharaj describes that as, it is an itching sensation. Very interesting, very important. You can try this. Itching sensation, suppose you get an itching sensation in your hand. You itch it. Then what happens? It will grow more. Again it will. Because that itching sensation is there. And then you itch it more. Then after some time it becomes a wound. It will pain. The itching sensation is there. You tolerate for some time. Sometime you just tolerate it. After some time it disappears, goes away. So of course, this itching sensation of sense gratification does not go away just by tolerating. By tolerating, one can give it up for some time. And one can engage positively in devotional service. Param drishtva nivardate. Until and unless one attains a higher taste in devotional service, one cannot give up this lower taste. One cannot give up. That is what we find in the life of great devotee like Yamunacharya. He says, Yad avadhi mama chitta Krishna padare vindayor. He says, from the time my mind has become attached to the lotus feet of the Lord, Navanava-rasam udyatum rantum asita. I am always, every moment, I am relishing newer and newer taste. Tat avadhi batanari sangame smaryamane. At this instant now, when I am engaged in the service of the Lord and I am enjoying newer and newer taste, even if by chance, because of my old habit, even if my mind gives such an idea that why not embrace a woman? Nari sangame smaryamane bhavatu mukha vikara shushtu nishtivanam cha. I spit at such a thought. Why? Param drishtva nivartate. Only when one has attained a higher taste, it is possible to give up lower taste. So what should be our endeavor? Our endeavor should be to control, as the example is given in Bhagavad. Krishna has advised, regulated. We should be regulated in all our activities. If we are not regulated in our eating, sleeping, you cannot be regulated in your sense enjoyment. No possibility. Do not think. It all starts from our habits of how we recreate. You don't sleep properly, you don't eat properly, we are not regulated in all these things, and then you are thinking, I will be able to control my senses. Not possible. See, Krishna says, one who is unregulated cannot become a yogi. So this is Bhakti Yoga. Whether this yoga or that yoga, if you are not regulated, you cannot become any yogi. So first of all, we have to become regulated in our eating, in our sleeping, in our recreation. So the example Krishna is giving is just like tortoise. We should be like tortoise. Tortoise utilizes the senses, its limb, only as much it is required. For two purposes. For walking on the ground, for swimming in the water. And whenever it senses danger, immediately it withdraws its limb. This is what we should learn, as Lord Krishna is saying. Yogi should learn. Utilize our senses to the extent it is required. Otherwise, not that just because I am having senses, so I should use it as I want. Isn't it? So do not use the tongue like that. Prabhupada says that tongue, which is actually not singing the glories of the Lord and is involved in different material subject matter, Prabhupada says is like prostitute. We should be faithful. Devotional service begins with engaging the tongue. See? It begins with engaging the tongue. Very surprising. Not with genitals or anything. It starts with tongue because the tongue is the root cause. So the tongue vibrates material subject matter and it tastes material objects. So if we can restrain that and taste Krishna Prasadam and always engage the tongue only in subject matter related to Krishna, then tongue can come under control and our other senses will also come under control. So this is very important. This is what he's saying, that just because you have become old, do not think that you will be able to give up sense gratification. The desires will still persist in our heart. So the next he's saying, same he's saying also, one should not allow oneself to sit on the same seat even with one's own mother, sister or daughter, for the senses are so strong that even one is very advanced in knowledge, he may be attracted by sex. See? I have spent a full 1000 years enjoying sense gratification, yet my desire to enjoy such pleasure increases daily. It's only increasing, not decreasing. Isn't it? That's what one of the great devotee, he prays that these senses and mind, they're very ungrateful. Whole life you serve them, and even in old age if you ask, now give me relief, they will not give you relief. Even in old age they will not give you relief. Isn't it? So it is like this. So this example which we find here of Lord Brahma is very instructive for one practicing spiritual life. So even a grahastha should not take it for granted. One should not take it for granted, thinking that I am married, so it does not matter. Isn't it? Anyone, whether brahmachari or grahastha or vanaprastha or sannyasi, anyone who is practicing Krishna consciousness should be very, very careful in dealing, in whatever way we deal. So Prabhupada explains, just like some practical examples we can take, is that in our course of preaching, we will come across, Prabhupada says, that sometimes we find some devotees, they complain to Prabhupada that we are getting disturbed. So Prabhupada said that if you are getting disturbed like this, better go to jungle. They were complaining that there are Matajis in the temple, so they went with a complaint. So Prabhupada said that if you cannot control even this much, then better you go to jungle. Because Prabhupada said, so that means when you will be walking on the street You'll be seeing so many women. How can you avoid? It's not possible to avoid like that. You have to avoid in the situations getting, just like the example is given here, do not sit in seclusion. Isn't it? So on practical purposes, we may have to engage, we may have to interact. That does not matter. What matters is that the moment we become disturbed or agitated, then we should avoid such kind of circumstances. That is what we should see. So we'll stop with this. Granth Raj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai.